Yo, welcome in everybody. If you're new to the channel, my name is SweetPhil, and I've been using this Bone Spear Necromancer live on stream for the last couple of days. I actually stream right here on this channel, and if you do watch over on Twitch as well, I do dual stream over there at the exact same time. Link at the top of the description to that. But this Bone Spear Necromancer I'm using specifically in the Chaos Sanctuary. Now, there are a couple of skill points I would shift around that I will go over in the video if you want this to be a more all-around area type of farming character. But right here I got to set up specifically for an easy to put together gear, and also the exact skill point set up to use the way that I can fly through the Chaos Sanctuary kind of as fast as I would like to here. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Now, first of all, what can this character even do before we jump into looking at things? That's what you guys are going to want to see, right? So we're going to go ahead and jump out, just a quick test out here at Eldritch and Shank, and see exactly how much damage you can put out. There's just a few hits and then nuke the group right there. So these are pretty easy monsters right here to kill. I'll check that stuff later. Don't worry, fellas. I'll let you know if anything's good. And right down here, you can kind of do the same thing. You shoot a few, take down a couple monsters, and then you corpse explode. I know some people will make the comments, well, actually, that's just a corpse explosion, Necrophil. Corpse explosion is so OP. I mean, you gotta have it on every Necromancer build. Am I right, fellas? So this is the Bone Spear Necro. You use these Bone Spears to take down the first monster, the first couple, and then corpse explode the entire group down. So another spot you can actually use this for that it works pretty okay is actually going after Neolithic, because these Bone Spears pierce through all the monsters, and then you can go ahead and hit your Neolithic, taking out a lot of his damage, and then go ahead and corpse explode the rest of them before they get really close enough to you for him to corpse explode, and bam. You know, you can actually farm Neolithic with the Necromancer pretty dang easily, actually. And now we'll hop out to the Chaos Sanctuary, the place where I'm actually currently using this while I'm live streaming. And actually, it just happens to be terrorized right now, crazy enough. So we'll go ahead here, and I'll just kind of show you exactly, you know, the kind of thing it can do in the Chaos Sanctuary. And also, if I didn't mention it, this player's 3 difficulty. It's not really my favorite build for like player 7, 8 difficulty, so maxed out full games. But it really is a pretty darn good build. The play style, in my opinion, kind of got to get used to it, because I'm not really an avid Bone Spear Necromancer player, I'm going to be perfectly honest, but it really does work pretty dang good. So you can see just knocking down groups right here. The general strategy as we go over it, I actually am using amp damage, because even though the Bone Spear is magic damage, excuse me, Corpse Explosion is half physical and half elemental, half fire damage. So the amp damage is actually boosting up half of the damage of the Corpse Explosion. On top of that, obviously my Mercenary right here is putting out physical damage, which will help you get a corpse down faster in order to start corpse exploding faster. So that's why we go with amp damage. On top of that, getting down to lower res will take a ton of extra points that you really don't want to waste. You want to kind of get those into the synergies for the Bone Spear. So as you can see right here, we won't go through a full run. I feel like it's kind of demonstrated what it can do so far already. But here you can kind of see the power of the Bone Spear Necromancer. Now we'll go ahead and look at all the relevant information in order to put this character together. First of all, the stats, super easy. We got just enough strength to wear your gear. We're at 156, which probably gives away one of the gear pieces on this character. And we put the rest into vitality. I didn't put any base points in the energy or into dexterity because I didn't need them. The resistances you see are pretty good, not quite capped. You could shift some stuff around if you really want to cap this out. And after the gear, we'll just go over this right quick. Just barely under 300% magic find, which is real nice to get, a great spot. And you can see right here, it's pretty small, but we have a 125 FCR breakpoint. That's the highest breakpoint on a Necromancer. That way you can teleport around faster, and you can go ahead and cast your Bone Spears even faster. Now go ahead and take a look at the skill tree. And first we're going to start off with Poison and Bone. It's where a majority of your points are going. Now, first of all, we're using Bone Spear, so I'll go ahead and show that. We got max out Bone Spear with 20 points. You see it has 4 different synergies: Bone Wall, Bone Prison, Bone Spirit. Now, of course, we're going to be using Bone Armor. That's just a 1-point wonder, though. But notice it has Bone Wall and Bone Prison as synergies. So they both have Bone Wall and Bone Prison as synergies. So that's the first place we're going to want to dump points. Your Bone Armor will be much stronger with 20 max points into Bone Wall, which synergizes both Bone Spear and Bone Armor, and also the Bone Prison does the same thing. So your Bone Armor is super strong on this exact character, absorbing darn near, getting up close to 1,000 damage. So any of the remaining points we kind of end up left over, we did max out Bone Spirit as a synergy, and we went ahead and not quite maxed out teeth. Couldn't quite get it maxed out. We're 1 point short. Now, we just did 1 point into Corpse Explosion. Extra points does not increase the damage of Corpse Explosion. It just increases the radius of the explosion, which is good to get more radius. But getting more damage, getting that first monster down, popping bodies faster, is more important in my opinion. Now, as we jump over to the curses, because of what I kind of mentioned during the gameplay in the Cast Sanctuary, just 1 point into amp damage. And with all our plus skills in the gear, we got up to level 20 with 14 radius. Like I said, if you needed to get down to lower res, just to get 1 point in the lower res, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 extra skill points. And then that would give extra 50% damage to the corpse explosion. But amp damage already does that, on top of it helping out your mercenary. So I would not recommend going down to lower resistance on this particular type of character. Coming over to the summoning skills, this is where I'm going to give you a couple examples of how you could shift some points around, maybe pull some points out of a synergy for Bone Spear to kind of make it a more all-around character for farming more all-around places. Specifically, me farming in the Cast Sanctuary where I'm going, I don't need any summons really. And really, I just have the Clay Golem. It kind of slows down Diablo later on. Really, the Clay Golem just dies all the time while you're teleporting around, and I don't even really use it. And the Mercenary is perfectly fine just handling its own. So I just got 1 point in the Clay Golem to essentially put Decrepify essentially on Diablo at the end. If you want your Clay Golem to survive better, 1 point into Golem Mastery and 1 point into the Summon Resistance down here. You can go ahead and help you out there. And for an all-around character, I would also go ahead and use a few points to get down 1 into Ray Skeleton and 1 into Ray Skeleton Mage, and get, well, actually you have to come down here as well to go 1 into Blood Golem and 1 into Iron Golem to get 1 point into Revives. It is quite a few points to sacrifice, but Revives are pretty strong. They survive pretty dang well, along with the points you'd have into the resistances. And they spread out, really take on a lot of the brunt of the attacks and things like that. So just for all around areas, I would recommend doing that. 1 into Golem Mastery, 1 into Summon Resistance, and then get the ones down to get 1 point into Revive. And you'd probably be using Revives in a lot of different areas. But like I said, for my character, where I'm farming right now, I'm not using that. Now, the most interesting part of this character is the gear. And there's different ways you can min-max this type of gear. But I went with the absolute generic kind of very, very, very good caster gear. This is the exact same gear that would work great on a sorceress, work great on any type of the paladin caster builds. It would work great on a druid. You can even slap this stuff on a assassin and use this for your trap assassin if you wanted just to get the plus skills and stuff. It's not necessarily min-maxed for any caster, but it works real dang good for a ton of them. So the very first piece up here is Heart of the Oak. Obviously great for any casters. You could go with a white wand with getting the max plus skills and this and that, but I mean, man, all the resistance, the all skills, the cast rate, just, you already probably have it on your paladin or something. You got it right there. Obviously Enigma for teleporting around, super obvious. We've got a Shaco up here. We've got a Mara's up here, best you got. You could go with a caster amulet as well if you wanted to shift some other things around. We've got a Spirit Monarch over here. 35 FCR is pretty crucial in order to get to the 125 breakpoint. Over on Trang's Gloves, any Necromancer is going to be using the Trang's Gloves, of course. We've got 1 SOJ and then 1 FCR ring. That gets us to the 125, so we need that 1 FCR ring right there. Like I said, if you had a caster amulet with 10 FCR, you could go ahead and slap another SOJ on over here, but I decided to go with this Mara's up over here. Just super easy peasy, generic, get it and go. Belt, obviously, we got Arachnid's Mesh, and we've got Alder's Boots over here to really get that fire res up. In the Cast Sanctuary, I wanted to get my fire res higher because there's obviously no fire res on the Spirit Monarch, getting those other resistances higher, and there's a lot of fire damage coming from those Venom Lords in the Cast Sanctuary. So this is, obviously there's different options at almost all of these different slots, really. If you want to throw, like I said, a caster amulet here, you could throw an SOJ there. You could go with a white wand over here, and a lot of different little shifts like that for different types of gear. So what you finally end up doing is up to you, but this works really darn good as you've seen. Now down here, Poison and Bone Skillers are what's going to be helping out your damage the most, obviously. And we've got a Geeds. We obviously have a Torch and Annie, and we have 7% Magic Find. Small Charms. Now you notice there aren't any Sunder Charms down here. Now the Bone Spear is magic damage, so I guess you could throw a Magic Sunday down here. But then the Corpse Explosion is half fire and half physical, and your Mercenary is dealing physical damage. So you really got a lot of bases covered from a lot of different damage types. There aren't a lot of magic immunes in the game either. There's just the same ones that, you know, the Hammerden can't kill, essentially. That wave 2 of Bale you got to worry about, I guess. But you don't really have to worry about it that much because you got Corpse Explosion just melting things. So Sunder Charm, not even needed on this particular build. Obviously, Call to Arms and a Spirit on swap right here. And we jump over to the Mercenary, which is right here. We've got the Might Mercenary. You don't want the Cold Aura from the Cold Mercenary shattering bodies, because then you won't have anything to Corpse Explode. Now, we do have an Insight right here to get our mana up. You could do something with a Infinity over here, and then you could, if you wanted to, you would have to sacrifice a ton of points from the synergies from Bone Spear. But if you wanted to do the Insight Iron Golem with an Infinity over here, you could. But I just feel like the number of points in order to get your Iron Golem to survive, not necessarily worth it. So you got to use a couple points to get down here. And for this Iron Golem to survive, you have to cap out Golem Mastery. That's 20 points you'd be sucking out of one of your synergies for Bone Spear. And I didn't feel like I really wanted to do that. And the extra damage didn't feel needed for what I was doing and what I decided to do. So over here on the Mercenary, like I said, we've got an Insight. And then we went with standard Mercenary setup, Fortitude. And we've got Andariel's Visage right there. So there's a very great Bone Spear Necromancer. It's one I've been using on stream for the last few days. It's kind of gear that you don't even have to trade for any of it. You literally just transfer it all over from your Paladin, Necromancer, transfer it all over from your Sorceress to your Necromancer or whatever, and then from your Necromancer to your next character. So you don't have to go out and trade and look for this gear online or anything. A lot of you, if you got great gear for your character, you probably already got a lot of this stuff. So it's really awesome for trying out a new character and using this gear right here. Feel free to head down in the comments. Let me know any gear variations that you love putting on your Bone Spear Necromancer that's perfectly min-maxed, or maybe more budget stuff, whatever you feel like putting down there, fellas. So make sure you hit the like button, subscribe up before you go. Peace out and keep slaying.